Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, all of my beautiful friends from the internet. I hope each and every single one of you is doing absolutely spectacularly scrumptious on this fine Tuesday morning. I know that's not necessarily the right word to use there, but we're just going to roll with it. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Reddit Asks Us podcast, the podcast where we read and react to comments from r/Askreddit. I am your host, Luke Dick. Now remember, if you are listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you get your lovely podcasts, please make sure to leave us a rating and also leave us a review. It absolutely helps out the show so immensely much. So if you could please go ahead and do that, that would be absolutely appreciated to the utmost degree. And if you want to share the podcast with your friends, please go ahead and do that as well. Share it on Reddit or wherever else you like to have fun and hang out with people and do your fun things. If someone you know is just looking for a new podcast to listen to, tell them to tune in. Remember, you can respond to this week's Q&A or this week's question, this week's Reddit question on Spotify by hitting the description of the episode, and then below, scrolling down, you should see a comment section and you should be able to comment there. I don't need to approve it anymore, so your comment should just appear right away. And we're kind of left up to be our own mods in Spotify. Spotify's given us a lot of responsibility on that one. This is an ad-supported show, so we will take an ad break, after we're done reading the comments from last week's episode. We also have a poll, so every week we do a poll, so that will be also read out at the end of reading the comments, and I'll announce the results of last week's poll. We do so much; this is crazy. Anyways, you'll get it. You'll fine. If you listen to the show, you understand. If you're new to the show, then you'll get it. But yeah, this is an ad-supported show, so we'll take a break after we are done reading off the responses from last week's episode. So why don't we hop into the responses from last week's episode. So, I'm sure everybody's excited to hear me back live again, recording on Mondays. I did have to pre-record an episode, so I don't know if I got to read everybody else's comments from the previous week, but I'm here back and in person and ready to read some comments. So, last week's episode was, what is a red flag in someone's home? And people like to respond. I'm noticing that people really like to respond to the polls in the comments, so I guess I'll read off the poll for last week. The results of the poll were, would you rather live in a Terminator or zombie apocalypse? And pretty much everybody chose zombie apocalypse with a 14% to 85%, 14.3% to 85.7% split on this one. This one was kind of a blowout. I was a bit surprised by that, but you know what? I mean, I thought it would be a little bit more even. The Terminator one just kind of sounds I don't know. It sounds like a real challenge. It sounds kind of cool, like zombies are disgusting and gross. It's like, at least if I get killed by a Terminator, it's going to be a quick death. They're just going to pop me right in the head and I'm done, or just vaporize me. Whereas a zombie, could you imagine getting eaten alive by zombies? That would suck, okay? I think we can all agree that would genuinely suck. Just getting pulled apart, like limb from limb, like, not my entrails. Like, I feel like I'd rather choose the quick and easy pop to the head, And you know what? Joining a resistance kind of sounds like cool against like an oppressor. You don't really do that against zombies. You're kind of just running for your life. So first one comes from Phil Savannah. I went to someone's house that was probably built 3 or 4 years before. When I enter the house and I asked where the bathroom was anointed in a direction. Okay. When I got close, he came running by me and said, "Hold on 1 second." And he went into the bathroom and flushed the toilet. When he left, I went in there and it smelled like shit. I would assume so. Also, the bowl of the toilet had a disgusting brown ring, and I'm talking like 30-year-old truck stop bathroom use. I'm guessing he never had once cleaned it and rarely flushed. I don't understand why you wouldn't flush. Like, are you really saving that much water? Like, especially when you have a guest over, you wouldn't think to just like, even if you do some weird shit like that, even if you, like, wouldn't you think to just like, you have a checklist of, I don't know what about you guys, but whenever people come over and we're inviting people over, we kind of have a little checklist of things to do before people come over, like, make sure the bathroom's clean off the tables and get rid of laundry and stuff that's around, maybe tidy up my room. You'd think flushing shit down the toilet would be at the top of that list. Even if you're a very low kind of maintenance person and you don't really look after that many things before people come over to your house, you'd think that at least that would be on the top of the list. It's got to be, I really don't know what's ahead of that. That's kind of got to be like number one. Maybe no dishes in the sink, and then just like right under that is no shit in the toilet. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of number one. Unless you're assuming that people are just not going to use the bathroom when you come over. Like, oh, dude, where's your bathroom? I gotta. Yeah, sorry, bro. We don't do that shit here, bro. That bathroom's off limits, man. That bathroom's just for me. Okay, that's why they call it the throne, the porcelain throne. Okay, because that's where I sit. So we don't do that here, bro. We don't go to the bathroom here. That's not. We just cut that shit out right now, immediately. We don't do that here, bro. Like, what? Perform our most basic functions. Next one comes from Dusty. For my response to the prompt is that when I went to my ex's house a couple years ago, I was wearing a COVID mask. It was the ending part of that time in COVID in early 2022, but it reeked of cigarette smoke. Yeah, I don't think an N95 is even gonna mask that. And even when she visited my house and brought stuff over, it smelled like cigarette smoke. This was after my freshman year. This character limit is gonna be the end of me. I didn't know there was a character limit. I thought they got rid of that. But for the would you rather, I'd choose the zombie apocalypse as long as it's like The Walking Dead and not instant infection like 28 days later. Again, see, I don't know about that, dude. Like, I just am like, that's just, imagine living amongst so much disease and disgust, and I don't know, like, at least maybe with the Terminator thing, maybe some of the functions of the world are still being at use because at least like they're kind of like AI still running stuff maybe. But again, there's like no running water or toilets or anything like that. And they're just gross. Like, ugh, they're falling. The smell's got to be insane. Robots seem cleaner to me. Robots don't poop. So yeah, dude, that sounds disgusting with the cigarette. That's one thing that really bothers me. I just can't with cigarettes, dude. I just can't with the smell and just the whole thing. It's just not, especially like people who rip cigarettes like consistently. I feel like that is what amazes me. I know so many young people, especially like people at my university. There's like so we have like a college within our university, kind of. It's like a college affiliated with our university, and it's a bit of like a stereotype of people at this college that they're all like, arts program majors, and that they all, kind of dress like they found all their clothes in some garbage bag under under an overpass or something. But which is cool if you're into recycling your clothing. It's just, it might smell, like, it might smell like a dead coyote. But it's a stereotype of these people to like smoke cigarettes, and like they do. And like you walk past the college and a bunch of these kids, they look like this, and they're all, which philosopher do you like better, Nietzsche or Hegel? I'm like, dude, stop, just don't even, okay? And then they just are constantly smoking cigarettes, and I'm like, you guys say that you're so smart and pretend that you guys are some sort of intellectual people, but you're smoking cigarettes. Okay, I feel like we already came to this conclusion like 30 years ago, maybe even before that. But for sure, you cannot get past the allegations past 30 years ago. All right, that's like, okay, I understand maybe for a bit older, in that sort of millennial demographic, you guys have a little bit of leeway. People my age, I'm like, you obviously are not that smart because you're giving yourself cancer right now. You're constantly smoking cigarettes. I just really don't understand it. I better get through these a little quicker because I'm taking up a lot of time. But this is just a pet peeve of mine. Next one comes from JJ. I think this is a new commenter. What's going on, JJ? Red flag, I don't know. I probably don't have that much scope on the world, but I probably won't date someone with a Confederate flag since I'm black, a little Mexican, and Native American. So I might be cooked if I go somewhere like that. I hope so. I hope that, I don't really think that those types of flags are really I think they're inviting for a very small group of people. And if you don't belong to that group of people, I think that is very good reason to get, GTFO. I honestly, I don't think I would feel like you definitely, I can understand why you wouldn't feel comfortable, but I feel like even me, straight white man person, I think if I walk somewhere with a Confederate flag, I'm gonna be like, everyone, I don't smell like booze right now and, desperation. So I think I might be cooked as well. Also, I'd rather be in a zombie apocalypse because I don't want almost an unkillable robot after me. Fair enough. That's what we were just kind of, I think it deserves further debate. I think, but you know what? Fair enough. The Green Changeling. The Terminator apocalypse is a moot point, as it will just get fixed with time travel anyway. But then it's kind of an adventure, exactly. It's going to get fixed. Zombie apocalypse? No guarantee it's going to get fixed. As for the zombie apocalypse, I live in Fjord, which is a bunch of islands, and as we all know, zombies can't swim. All I need is a boat and a fishing rod, and I'm set. Not that that would matter either, as long as those only occur in North America. Excuse me. Same goes for alien invasions, now that I think about it. Yeah, that's actually a fairly good point about the zombie apocalypse. I guess you could just, try to go to some island somewhere. But then again, that just sounds really isolating and lonely. But, maybe you can just start a little cult. Maybe you could be God. Next one comes from Gid. For the would you rather zombie apocalypse because I felt like it would be resolved really quickly, and a red flag. I don't know about that. COVID is a respiratory disease, and it took like 2 years for us to fix it, which guaranteed is very short amount of time. But a flesh-eating zombie disease, I feel like that's spreading constantly and everywhere. I think, if you've ever seen The Last of Us, I think that might give a pretty good impression of how something like that might spread around pretty quickly. And I feel like a red flag for someone's home would be religious items all around the house. I feel like those kind of people would try to convert you to the religion, and as an atheist, this sounds personally like a nightmare. That's totally fair. I think, my great-grandmother's probably a perfect example of that. She had tons of religious affects around her house, and I don't think she ever went a day without mentioning Jesus. So, that was one of my most confusing gifts I ever received as an 8-year-old child. I thought it was a box of Lego, and it turned out to be a children's version of the Bible. So I didn't really not know how to react to that. I'd never gotten a gift like that in my entire life. I wasn't really raised religious at all. I went to church with my grandparents when I went to their house, but like my parents are not religious, and that's how I was raised. I was raised without any particular religion. I was raised very like spiritually and respect for other religions, but not, I'm not Mr. 10 Commandments over here. But yeah, that's, I could see that. Especially it might be a giveaway that if you step into someone's apartment that has tons of religious affects around there, I have a really difficult time that at some point during that interaction, they're not going to talk about Jesus. Like, I feel like, you got like 7 crosses on like every wall has a giant crucifix on it. And, there's posters from that, what the frick is that movie again? The Passion of the Christ everywhere. I'd find it really surprising if, that person was like, didn't really, what's up with all these, posters of Jesus? It's just like, oh yeah, just kind of like the guy. Not really religious, but seems like a cool dude, Just seems like a pretty chill guy. It's like, oh, okay, so interesting. Vortex says, no welcome, Matt. How am I supposed to feel welcome? I thought I said welcome, or maybe that was just last week's episode because it was pre-recorded, but welcome back, Vortex. Of course, we are so happy to see you back here again. Vortex is a longtime listener of the show, very early days, so thank you very much for joining us back here, Vortex. We all love you and are all supportive of the things you got going on. And the last comment comes from our subreddit, so make sure to join our subreddit at r/Reddit asks us on Reddit. And it is enjoy camping in Saskatchewan. Thank you very much. It was very fun. I think it comes from Protons in the Air. So thank you very much for that comment. That was really nice to see. Nice to hear. I did have a really fun time. It was awesome. I got to spend great quality time with my parents and with some other family members. It was a really, really awesome time. For today's Would You Rather, would you rather have the power to relive any day from your past or the ability to see one day of your future? Now, remember, it might be appealing to say future, but you might not always like what you see, so there is that to think about. Whereas the past is kind of, you know what you're getting. If you had one day that really sticks out to you, might be worth it to check back in on that day. All right, folks. we are going to take a short ad break, and then we're going to be back with this week's episode.
Blinds.com is kicking off the savings early with Black Friday mega deals all month long. A Blinds.com design expert can help you make the perfect selection on your schedule. We can even handle everything from measure to your whole home installed for just one low cost. With over 25 million windows covered, Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. Get up to 45% off site-wide and a free professional measure right now at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of the Reddit Asks Us podcast. I'm so happy to be back here with y'all again today. So if you can tell from the episode title, we're doing another iteration of what is the most disturbing thing you've heard casually said. So, you always kind of walk past people and then, you might hear just something like, yeah, and then my freaking glass dildo just broke in my asshole, and then it took a long time to get those shards of glass out. It's like, listen, I don't have a problem with you talking about this, but do you really want to be talking just like in public, like open on the street? Like, I don't really think this is very like, time and place kind of, awareness here. I don't know if this is like you might get like, it's fine. You can talk about anything you want, but you can't not expect some, a couple head turns, couple of those. Like, what the hell? What are you guys talking about? Why are you guys like? And you can't just go mind your own business either after that too. It's like you're the one who's talking about some crazy abnormal stuff. All right, I wouldn't be turning my head if you didn't have some crazy story that I'm overhearing. It's like, yeah, and then I just threw his dead body in the ocean. It was just really freaking heavy. I'm like, okay, bro, I'm now gonna have to call the cops. So first one comes from CM Rocha, 1965. How there's going to be a gang fight, and my neighbors wanted to apologize for the noise beforehand. You guys just knew about this? Like, you didn't want to call the cops or anything? Like, you didn't want to alert me? I don't really think I'm the person you should be alerting about that information. I feel like there's a very, very simple demographic of people who probably would benefit from that knowledge. And, they're the people who kind of, go out of their way to prevent violent crimes from happening, or at least from getting worse. I'm not, listen, I'm not the biggest fan of the police. Obviously, there's big problems with the police. But if there was a big gang shootout that was about to happen on my block, I don't really think I'm going to be calling, the local pastor. I don't really think that I'm going to be calling the library about it, for historical documentation of this event. I feel like there's a pretty clear answer. I'm not going to be calling the fire department. Well, they might come, but I feel like, it's like I'm not going to ask for an ambulance before it's happened. Be like, yeah, there's about to be a ton of dead bodies around here. It's like, why are you calling us? Why don't you call the police first? You're getting ready for people that aren't even dead yet? I feel like there's a pretty easy group of people that should be alerted and notified of this problem beforehand. Like, I just don't understand. Like, you're sitting there. It's like, now, guys, I know it's the 4th of July. And things get kind of crazy. But I want you to know that if you hear what sounds like fireworks outside, they're not fireworks. Those are actually gunshots. There's multiple people who own prohibited weapons around where I live, fully automatic AK-47s and MP5s, and these are not legally owned or operated firearms. They are in the possession of people who should be in prison for a very long time for multiple murders across a wide demographic of people. So, that's how I lost my foot. Had a bad run-in, all right? I disrespected one of the gangsters. Lost my foot, got it all shot up. But that's what happens, all right? That's how it goes. When you're up against gangs, you disrespect somebody, you're up against a mob man, might not kill you, but you don't want to stand up to the mafia, or else they're gonna, they might give you a little hot foot, little dancing shoes. But yeah, anyways, so if you just hear, I know it's celebration, but no barbecue tonight, because usually we hold our barbecues in the front lawn of neighbors and stuff, but we won't be doing that tonight because of of the massive gunfight that's about to happen. So watch for strays. Duck your heads. Duck your heads tonight. Other than that, we should have a fun time. Other than that, you guys better be prepared because I am going to own you guys at Scrabble. So, next one comes from Old Distance 3979. Someone once said, if I went missing, I think it would take days for anyone to notice. They laughed, but it hit me hard. Like, how many people feel that way? That one's definitely a little bit more depressing. But again, like, this is information. I think you should see a therapist if that's, I don't really think that's, like, that's a really tough one to laugh off, just being like, like there's a lot of different things you can just kind of brush off, laugh off, like, if it wasn't for my bum knee, I'd probably still be playing basketball to this day. I'd probably, but that dream's gone. That's funny. It's a little self-depreciating. It's injuries happen. It's kind of a part of life. It's a fact of life. I think this is like, I don't really think that this is like, how do you expect me to react to that? Like, yeah, your life's freaking worthless, bro. Like, what? Like, I'm not going to say that, dude. Like, I'm going to say seek help. Like that, I feel like this isn't something like that. That sounded really real, bro. I don't really think that you should be joking about that. I think you should probably see a professional. That's not I don't really think that's something that's gonna just be, people aren't gonna say you're a funny guy if that's the kind of things you're joking about. I think people are gonna say that it's every time someone kind of interacts with you, it's a bit concerning. So, maybe a little bit less laughter, a little bit more therapy. It's kind of what I'm getting at here. Next one comes from Try Again. A new roommate was telling a funny story about her family. All of us were laughing and joking. I asked a simple follow-up, and she casually mentioned her brother was in jail for killing their dad with a shotgun, and was sincere. It was definitely a record scratch moment. And then I said, "That's not what the cat's for." So whose cat was it? Oh, it was actually my brother's cat. He got it taken away from him because he shot our dad in the head with a shotgun. Is in prison now. Pretty bad guy. We always knew something was kind of off with him, and then then that happened, and it kind of really set the tone for the rest of the probably for the rest of our lives living generally. It's like, that is not ideal. Is the cat okay? Is the cat fine? Can I rest tonight knowing that this cat is unharmed? It's like, yeah, I know he never did anything to the cat. Just a shotgun to our dad. It's like, how do we follow that up? That's not a great conversation instigator. The whole concept of the middle sitter. This is like in Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is Larry David's show. I recommend. It's so funny. Some of the humor's maybe not, maybe hasn't aged the greatest, but a lot of it has, especially the mild-mannered stuff. But there's this concept of the middle sitter, where the best person at the table to sit is the person who should be sitting in the middle seat, because in the middle of the table, because they're people who can instigate and guide conversation really well. And I find that this actually holds true in real life. Not everybody listens. No one wants to be the person at the head of the table, because then you just kind of, if you're the person at the head of the table and you're the one taking over the conversation, it kind of feels a little bit pretentious. It's like, oh, we're supposed to listen to the king over here. Oh, I didn't know that your chair was higher than everybody else's. Oh, I didn't know your seat had like a leather stitched bottom on it. I wasn't aware of the fine Peruvian stitching in the back of your chair. That's, I feel like everyone's attention is guided over there, that's, when that person's sitting at the head of the table, it feels a little bit like, all right, so who's getting knighted tonight? That's the real question. And then who's also being consequently executed by the knight, dictated by our king sitting at the front of the table, or queen, or however you choose to identify, because you could be anything you want and still be an asshole. But anyways, yeah, that's not, I don't really think that that's a great, like, you can't bring that up and expect everyone to go, that, like, come on, guys, laugh, it's funny. It's like, there's really actually nothing funny about that. I don't know if you were trying to bring up, like, a hilarious anecdote there, but that sounds like what could be a Netflix documentary. All right, I think I'm less interested humor, like in a humoristic way, and more interested in, like, a psychological examination sort of thing that's going on here. Reply from Mercenary Blade 17. Not to that extreme, but a coworker told a story about his brother that I had never heard mentioned. I asked him what his brother does, and his answer was, sits at a jar on my mom's dresser. I didn't bring his brother up again, and I never heard him mention him either. You can just say, my brother's passed away, or he used to do something if you don't really want to talk about it. I feel like it puts the other person in a really awkward position when you go, oh, nothing much. He just sits in a jar full of ashes on my mom's dresser. He's actually alive. He's actually fully alive and aware. He's just sitting in a jar of ashes on my mom's dresser. Kind of likes it that way. I don't know. It happened one time as a punishment when we were kids, and he's kind of just stayed in there. He's kind of just stuck with it. I think it's kind of his... It's kind of, when you experience something that you don't really think is going to be fun, or you actually are kind of dreading it, and it turns out you have a lot of fun. It could be like skydiving or bungee jumping, rock climbing, maybe something like that. That's sitting in a jar full of ashes for my brother on my mom's dresser. Couldn't tell you why. Really don't understand the psychology or mentality behind it, but he clearly connects with it in a way that nobody else, probably in history, has. He's a bit of a weird guy. In case you didn't know or got that from that anecdote, my brother is a strange person. He's just been sitting in a jar of ashes for 20 years. Hasn't left. Very concerned, but he will not leave.
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
Whole Foods Market has Thanksgiving gatherings covered. First things first, reserve your no antibiotics ever fresh whole turkey today, starting at $2.99 a pound. Or go with their organic spiral cut bone-in ham, full of seared-in flavor. For sides, choose Whole Foods Market grab-and-go platters. Go even further and get your whole meal catered. Just order online by November 26th. Get Thanksgiving ready at Whole Foods Market. Terms apply.
Next one comes from Cheeto Dude 625. Listening to my American grandpa just casually drop horrific things he saw when he fought in World War II at random. Like, you ask him about a farm life, and he will just drop this on you. Back on the farm, I can't stand open pastures. It's just not my thing. I remember this one time. I saw 2 German tanks get blown to hell about 100 yards out, and I saw the tank commander jump out on fire. And the Germans had to cut him down. Anyway, that's why I hate open fields. Them pesky open fields. It's like, oh, I thought it was just because it's hard to farm them. Or it's hard to crop the open pastures, maybe, because it's just all the hills and stuff. I wasn't expecting friendly fire. Open friendly fire on a on a person. That wasn't where my mind, that's not exactly where my mind went. You know, I usually thought of it as it's really difficult land to farm. It's super hilly, and then it's kind of enclosed by a lot of trees. It's a lot of effort to get rid of the trees, and you know, it's hard to fertilize all that, and it's hard to harvest it. Not necessarily because somebody stepped on a landmine in a pasture that you saw. Old people are just so out of pocket. That's just how it is. Like I feel like, honestly, low key, maybe it's just because our generation hasn't been through, that's not to say. Maybe I think our generation's been through a little bit more personal trauma than global trauma. I think maybe just like the state of the world and the way people are in the state of the world makes us, you know, a lot of people individually traumatized because of that. But maybe not as much global traumas, but that also could not be true. But again, we haven't necessarily experienced like a world war or anything like that. But we have experienced crazy stuff. But older generations, I feel like maybe they understand the whole, you know, venting, or the whole talking about your feelings or talking about your experiences in a different kind of way. You know, they're like, you know, we're having this cultural conversation. Oh, yeah, it's okay. We should be talking about our feelings, right? Like, we should be expressing ourselves, our experiences, talking about them, working through them, trying to, you know, work through our traumas, trying to, you know, help to process these types of things that happen to us. But Grandpa, I don't really think you should be telling me about the Japanese soldier you saw with his eyes bulging out of the back of his head. I don't think that I'm the right person to be handling this kind of information. I don't think I'm qualified, nor am I in the right state of mind myself to really hear about that kind of thing. I am 10 years old. It's quite vivid. You know, I don't mind watching a couple action movies, you know, Batman, you know, The Dark Knight. You know, there's a couple, you know, maybe some a little bit more violent movies, you know, back in the day. But when you're telling me you saw that for real, and you're describing it in very, very intense, immaculate detail. I think that I'm not the right person. I think this is making me feel a bit awkward. This is maybe channel that energy into something more constructive, because I don't think I can, you know, deconstruct this type of trauma that you're dealing with as, again, a 10-year-old boy. I wasn't necessarily born with the skills of a PhD psychologist, so there is that. But it sounds very scary and very terrifying. So there's some people out there who I think are much more qualified to deal with this problem than, again, a 10-year-old boy. But yeah, a reply from Cheddar Poodle. Oof, my grandfather would do this. But from the other side of things, he was a Holocaust survivor. Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God. That would be terrifying to listen to the stories of that. Again, not that they shouldn't be heard. Absolutely, they should be and processed. But again, they're heavy, to say the least. I asked, especially for young children, I asked him 1 year to teach me his latke recipe. We were sitting at the kitchen island as we peeled potatoes with knives, mind you, not peelers. He was always able to get his perfectly long spiral of skin. I made an offhand comment about how perfect his potatoes looked, especially compared to mine. With zero hesitation, he replied, "They had to peel potatoes in the camps. A shred of potato skin was a nutritious morsel, but you had to be careful not to let anyone catch you eating it or you'd be beaten. Also, if there was too much potato on the pulp of your skin, the guards would then beat you as well. Something as mundane as potatoes. For a moment, he was a teenager in Auschwitz again. Again, I don't think I have the skills to be able to deal with a comment like that. I think that would be a very awkward moment. You know, I think this is like, we have been, you know, there's been a little bit more of an emphasis on social skills. I think when I was growing up too, like, it's all, you know, you're trying to learn how to get better social skills. And I think even nowadays We're all learning how to become better socially, with the existence of the internet and becoming more socially aware. This, I really don't think there's any person, with the best type of social skills that would be able to kind of handle that. I feel like, Grandpa, I don't know if I'm the right audience for this comment. Next one comes from Francesca McG. I was coming to after surgery and heard one woman ask, "What's she in here for?" about me, and another woman say, "She must be dying. I think everyone in this wing is. And I just had gallbladder surgery, but showed nurses I could walk and that I was able to pee in record time so I could get out of there." Were they just going to pull the plug on you? Yeah, she must be dying. Everybody on this wing is. Just pull the plug. It's going to be easier that way. Like, she's just another she's just another bowl of ashes, just another jar of ashes. Might as well just get it over with now. It's like, I think I need to report what's going on in this wing of the hospital right now, because this seems very illegal. I don't really think nurses are qualified to take things into their own hands like that. Or doctors even, really. I don't really think that there's a ton of, especially in countries like Canada and the United States, and where there's a pretty, I don't really know how it is in a lot of other countries, but I know over here, doctors don't really have a whole lot of discretion to just be like, skin's looking a little gray, body's looking a little weak, muscle atrophy going on. You know what? Yeah, just pull the plug. Pull the plug. Yeah, this isn't going to go anywhere. I can tell. It's like, sir, I'm just nutrient deficient. I have low iron before I came here. Like, I don't have muscle atrophy. I literally am just skinny. I'm just born skinny. I don't know why you're saying I have muscle atrophy. I just have a vitamin deficiency. I haven't had access to my vitamins. I've been begging the nurse, but she stuck a tube down my throat when I didn't need one. Okay, I'm here for an MCL tear. Why am I getting a chest tube stuck down my throat? I can breathe just fine. All right, I ruptured my meniscus. Okay, that's the only reason why I'm here. You don't pull the plug. Don't pull the plug. If I'm on a plug, by any means, please do not pull the plug. I don't know why I'm on a plug. I was here for a routine ligament surgery. This is, again, gallbladder surgery. Like, people just assuming you're dead. Why did they just put you on that floor? Maybe you have a secret hater. Maybe it was just like, yeah, we're gonna give her gallbladder surgery, but make her think she's dying. We're gonna put her completely out cold. It's like, really? Why should we do that? I don't think we should put her in that ward. You know what? No, listen to me. It's fine. There's good reason. Okay. I just can't divulge those reasons with you right now, but you just got to trust me. They're good reasons. Very justifiable reasons. Reply from Mythbird. I was in a hospital for a blood transfusion, and a D&C and two nurses were looking over my chart while making my bed. I was sitting in a chair in the hall across the way from the bed. And the first nurse goes, "Oh, do you think she's pregnant?" Me just there shaking my head when the first nurse caught. The other says, "I wonder if it's a miscarriage." I shake my head again. And there was a third question along these lines, which was also negative, and I shook my head again. The first nurse said, "Oh, she just answered all the questions." I nod. Like, yep, you just speculated over my chart loud enough for me to hear, like 10 meters away. You could just ask me directly. Yeah, I wonder if she has that disgusting foot fungus that smells really bad. Not me. I don't have a foot fungus. Really? Because I'm pretty sure this one is the one with the really smelly feet. The feet? Check your feet. Someone should check her feet. Thank you, please. It's like, that's not me. That's literally not me. I just had a pedicure last weekend. I don't have smelly feet. It's like, well, everywhere I go, I'm smelling feet. So it's like, everywhere you go? Yeah, literally everywhere I go. It's like, why would you assume it's somebody else if you look down at your own feet? Well, it could never be my feet. I'm a nurse. Nurses don't get foot fungus, okay? Everybody knows that. Nurses we're literally trained in medical science. Okay, like, as if you think I was going to just get a foot fungus. Nurses, as soon as you get your nursing degree and you get your license to practice, like, what makes you think I'm going to get a foot fungus? I'm literally just healthier than everybody else. That's how it works. It's like, I don't think that's how it works. I can pretty much guarantee you that's not how it works. You could be a nurse or not. If you don't wash your hands, odds are you may get very sick. Next one comes from Hidden Squish. Met a girl once in my freshman college classes and realized we lived in the same dorm. So we were walking back together. We were continuing a discussion from class and the topic of abortion came up. Oh, geez. What a lovely topic to talk about with somebody you don't know. I love talking about stuff like this with someone who I have no idea what their opinions are about anything. I love getting into those discussions with random people, especially when people have a very strong opinion that I disagree with. That is lovely. I love biting my tongue. That is just... Some people will just bring this kind of stuff up too out of nowhere because they just want to hear your opinion. They'll ask you about it just so they can tell you you're wrong. And it's like you didn't... Like, this isn't a discussion. You brought this up because you're trying to preach to me about my opinion. This conversation wasn't going anywhere. Like, I don't think that's a very great way to change someone's mind, is to just tell them they're stupid and tell them they're wrong and imply that they're like not, they don't even have a chance of being correct. I that's not really opening things up to very, very, very open discussion about certain things. But don't worry, guys. I don't have a bad opinion on this kind of stuff. All right, trust me. Or we all can we just agree? We know what the bad opinion is. We all know what it is. The unfavorable opinion. All right, we're gonna leave it at that. She said her family was super against it, regardless of the circumstances, but she thought it would be allowable in extreme cases. Then it goes, when I got raped, I was only 13, and my parents were going to make me keep it, and I had a miscarriage though, so it was okay. Like, and then there's a good reply for this. The reply from Hungry Bumblebee 5912 says, "It's the Lord's plan. Fuck that, and fuck parents like that." Dude, straight up, like, that is the most, like, diabolical type shit for those types of parents, those hella religious parents. And they go like, "Oh, this is like the funniest joke. I can't remember whose joke it is, but I think it's like something that George Carlin said or something. It was so funny. Or it might have been like Christopher Hitchens or something. I literally can't remember. It's so hilarious. And they go like, it's so funny when these really fundamentalist, like, religious people go like, I'm gonna pray for my son's cancer to be cured. It's like, or I'm gonna pray for the cancer to go away. Well, God kind of answered your prayer when humans invented chemotherapy. There's God answering your prayer. God's like, I put it right there. It's literally right there. The cure is right there. It's like, maybe not necessarily for something like cancer, but let's say like an infection and you need like a penicillin or something like that. One of the greatest inventions of all time is penicillin. It's like, oh, I'm praying my son will get over this infection. God's like, okay, well, looks like I'm gonna have to create some really smart people who are gonna go and figure out the cure to this infection. And it's like, oh, finally, I've spent all this time. It's culminated all to these people and this point in society where they've invented penicillin, and they're just like, no, I don't really think I'm gonna take that. I don't really think it's like the cure's right there. This is what you're praying for. You can't just, like, when you go to heaven, you can't just be like just looking at God and being like, why didn't you cure my son? I put the penicillin right there. It was on the table. You can't just sit here and say, oh, I didn't try. I tried everything. It took freaking thousands, millions of years to evolve to this point. Do you not understand the work? I'm not saying I believe in God. I'm just playing the role. I probably follow along the lines with a lot of Redditors. I'm very like agnostic, spiritual type person, but I don't believe in God per se. But yeah, and then the funniest thing too about this is these type of people are so like, oh yeah, like let's depend on, like, everything's in the Lord's plan, right? Everything's in the Lord's plan. Yeah, until some shit happens to you. Okay, I want you to see how much you're like the Lord. Everything's in the Lord's plan when you're a quadriplegic because you just got hit by a bus. Like, are you really, like, keep that same energy, dude. Like, you're gonna say, oh, it's in the Lord's plan that this happened to your 13-year-old daughter. Screw you. Are you gonna say the same thing when you become a quadriplegic after you got hit by a bus? I doubt it. I doubt you're really gonna be sitting there and be thinking to yourself, like, all in the Lord's plan. Yeah, until it applies to you, until you've had some crazy stuff happen to you, and then you're like, well, that doesn't count. Okay, this one was a fluke. This one was different, okay? The Lord was sleeping, okay? The Lord was sleeping on that day. He must have just missed it, okay? It was incredibly tragic, and obviously the Lord wouldn't do me like that. So he must have been mowing the lawn. He had to have been mowing the lawn in heaven. He must have been, I don't know, maybe spit shining the pearly gates or something. He was busy at the time, okay? So he just maybe got a little distracted and didn't omnisciently move the bus out of the way. I'm so sure. Next one comes from Grim ... From a surprised recruiter during a first face-to-face meeting. Oh, you didn't sound black over the phone. Dude. What is the type of bullshit that just falls out of boomers' mouths? Like, boomers will just say that type of shit, and they'll only recognize it's wrong because of the like social change in the atmosphere, or like that other people think it's wrong. They don't think it's wrong to say that type of stuff. I guarantee you, though, they'll go home to their partner or whatever in the evening, and they'll be like, everyone freaked out at me. All the military HR freaked out at me because they said he didn't sound black over the phone. Like, he didn't sound black over the phone. It's like, you can't say that. That's racist. These people. Oh my goodness. I'm not saying this is all boomers, but I think that the demographic that is more likely to say some shit like that's probably going to be boomers than it's going to be your Gen Z recruiter. I really don't think that the Gen Z recruiter, maybe some of them, but I think demographically speaking, it's probably more likely you're going to hear that from somebody who's a little bit older, maybe has their mind a little bit more closed. You are never beating the racist allegations after that. Like that, you're just not you're not evading them. Like, everyone's gonna just, from that point on, everyone's just gonna look at you differently. Like this, there's a whole joke about this in Curb Your Enthusiasm, where Larry says some stupid shit like that, and he realized obviously how bad I was after he said it. But it's like, yeah, you can't say that. You're actually inciting a very harmful stereotype across an entire group of people. I'm not saying that's what I'm trying to do right now by saying that boomers do that. I'm just, listen to my argument. My argument's probabilistically speaking, okay? I'm not saying all boomers do that type of shit, but, we can infer. When I said that, who were you picturing? I don't really think you were picturing, I don't really think you're picturing a super progressive, young person saying some shit like that. Even if they weren't progressive, I don't even think young conservatives would say something like that. Next one comes from, should we do this as the last one? Yeah, we'll do this as the last one. Last one comes from Funky Wolfie Punky. I mean, yeah, I eat slugs. They're like escargot without the shell. He was in the hospital for liver flukes. I don't know what a liver fluke is. And then someone posted a link in the comments directly after for healthy man dies after eating slug on dare. Again, dude, like I don't really think if you're getting sent to the hospital each time you do this, I don't really think that you can claim this as some sort of delicacy. It's like, yes, it's a rare delicacy. It's something that might be a little bit out of the box, but it is phenomenally tasting. Now, every delicacy comes with its consequences, all right? And those little birds that are illegal to eat because they eat the entire bird, you're eating the bones, but it's fine. Your body can digest them, whatever. And not saying that's ethical, but that you know what happens in these high food markets, right? And this one, you just have to get prepared. It's going to give you liver disease, and it might stop the functioning of most of your vital organs, but it's almost like escargot. So, I mean, I feel like this is kind of a win all around. I'm not seeing the drawback of this one. I mean, you could have escargot, but why wouldn't you want escargot and also a trip to the hospital to be on an iron lung for the rest of your life? To be hooked up to the machine that's going to pump your blood through your body for the rest of your life. I feel like, every good thing involves some risk. So just bear with me on this one. Eating slugs, you might never leave a hospital bed ever again, but you're going to be like, damn, that was, you're going to look at me and say, wow, that tasted a lot like escargot. Like really close. So thank me later. We're gonna cap it off there for this episode, everybody. I hope everyone had some fun. I'm glad that we are able to be back here live or live-ish again for this week's episode. So thank you all so much for tuning in to the Reddit Asks Us podcast, the podcast to reread and react to comments from r/AskReddit. Again, I'm your host, Luke Dick. Please remember to share and to rate and review this podcast on wherever you listen to your podcasts on podcasting platforms. Remember, respond to this week's episode. Join our subreddit, r/Reddit Asks Us, and answer the poll. And I'll see y'all next week. Peace out. Love you. Goodbye.